Hello, testing 1, 2, 3. Is this thing on? Guys, let me know in the chat if the audio is good. I am Jez from Windows Central and also one half of the illustrious Xbox 2 podcast, and I'm your host this week for episode 395 of the Xbox 2 podcast. So for those of you who might have missed the last couple of episodes, my co-host with the co-most, Randolph Hall, the man with the million, is currently dealing with a death in the family, and his family are having to deal with a lot of stuff with regards to, you know, estate planning and all that kind of thing. So Rand's been taking a couple of weeks out to deal with all that stuff. Send Rand our wishes, so shout out to Rand. Hopefully we'll get back to normal soon as possible, and but the show must go on until then. So thanks to everyone in the chat for joining us, and thanks to all of our Patreon VIP members, who I'm just going to give a quick shout out to now. We've got Adam Bartolo, Army Dude 50cc, Ace T at Madison, Bad Haddock, Briggs Country, Bright Tundra 1, Silas, Discarded Caboose, Fantasticals, Foreign Object, Glenn, Governor Grimm, iMark Zero, Inner Machine, James Moore, James Wezzo, Justin Duell, Katriox, Lazo Wolf, Patrock, Frosty, Randolph 419, RS Dong, Scarcely Relevant, Sean Kramer, Shrapnel, Tricks of a Tray, Woggerman, and Wolfgang KPZ. You guys are amazing, and whether you're on Patreon, whether you're on Spotify, we appreciate you. Can't tell you how much. If you haven't subscribed to Patreon before, Patreon is currently 50% off. We do extra shows there, and you can get an ad-free feed for audio and things like that. So patreon.com/XB2, 50% off. For new members only. I did try and put it down 50% off for everybody, but apparently Patreon won't let you do that. I was a bit confused about that. So for those of you who've messaged me like, where's the 50% off? I'm sorry about that, but it's new members only, and Patreon won't let me change it. But but we do extra shows there. You also get Q&As there and shout outs and all that kind of stuff. The VIP Discord, and come and check it out. So yes, this week, for Xbox news, or gaming news in general, it's been a bit of a slow news week, frankly. There's not a huge amount that's happened recently. One of the big news for Xbox fans coming up in the near term is obviously the January Developer Direct, which is the 26th, I think, off the top of my head. I hope that's the right day. It's been a long day, so please bear with me. But yeah, at the end of January, we're getting a Developer Direct, and so far we only know about 3 games, which is Fable, Forza Horizon 6, and also Beast of Reincarnation from Games Freak and the Pokemon team. But increasingly, there are rumors and expectations that we're probably going to get more than 3 games. Like the game I've heard of is Double Fine's game, Kiln, which is some kind of PvP brawler where you play as like clay fighters, something along those lines. That is the extra game that I've heard of, and I haven't got like hard confirmation that that'll be there or not, but it is something I've got pretty good sourcing on. But there are rumors now that people thinks maybe there's going to be even more than 4 games, because if you go on the Xbox dashboard right now, they do have like the promo image for the January Developer Direct. And it really does feel like there's way more space than just 3 games. They haven't done 3 games. I think they didn't they do 3 games at the first January Developer Direct? And since then, there's always been more than 3 games. Maybe even the first Developer Direct was 4 games even. I don't think they've ever done 3 games before. I could be wrong about that. But, obviously there's a lot of games that could be there. And let me know in the chat what kind of games you would like to see at this January Developer Direct. There's Clockwork Revolution, State of Decay 3. There's also things like, there's just tons of stuff they could put there. There's so many developers that we don't actually know what they're working on. There's a lot of rumors and conjecture about it. There's also, some big name indie games that could be there, or games that Microsoft maybe set up marketing deals with and that kind of thing. but you know, we won't know for sure until we get closer to the event. But one of the things that we sort of did kind of get a leak on this week, and it's kind of Microsoft leaked it themselves. The launch window for Forza Horizon 6, which they accidentally supposedly put in the news feed on the Forza Horizon 5 title screen or something like that, which is crazy and hilarious. But it wouldn't be the first time Microsoft leaked their own game. So it does look like Forza Horizon 6 is launching launching in May. So, you know, that was the I think most people seem to expect Forza Horizon 6 to be dropping in the first half of the year, so that kind of scans for me. Some of the games people in the chat are talking about hoping for January Developer Direct include, we've got Starfield. So Starfield Deep Dive is something I was asked a lot about, because Starfield is supposedly getting a big update and an expansion this year. And it does kind of feel like if it's coming sooner rather than later, it'd be cool to put this in the Developer Direct maybe, you know, especially if it's like a sizable, meaty update, which a lot of people are expecting it to be. And also the inevitable PlayStation 5 version. So maybe that could be there. I don't know. There's also things like Halo Wars 3, someone said. Bloodborne. I don't know if we'll see Bloodborne at the Xbox January Direct. Developer Direct. That'd be quite fun, wouldn't it? Voodoo Vince. Satya Nadella simulation game. Oh man, oh boy. Elder Scrolls 6, you know, and there was that thing as well. The Xbox Twitter account said something like, it's a good year for games ending in 6. And obviously Elder Scrolls 6 ends in 6. So, you know, as that one potentially could be there. But it'd be cool just, I don't know, just to get an extra game, an extra couple of games. But even still, like, seeing Fable alone is probably going to be pretty hype for a lot of people. You know, you guys know I'm not big into racing games, but it's hard to deny how big of a franchise Forza Horizon is, and how, I think, how monumentally popular the Japanese setting is going to be for that franchise and that game. So I'm pretty excited to see what they're cooking there as well. And also, Beast of Reincarnation looks pretty great as well. So I think even if it is just the 3 games, I think it'll be a good spread. But I do think we're going to get at least the 5 games. At least 4 games. Kamala Tong in chat says, each Dev Direct had 5. Are we sure about that? I'm sure, I don't know. I can't, my memory's so bad. It's why I need Rand here, man. I need Rand to be like my co-pilot and remember things for me. Without Rand, I just can't remember anything. Like, I'm playing half fiddle right now. I just want to get the show super chat from Guy just chilling with the $4.99. Thank you so much, dude. Hey, Jez. Hope Rand is well, and thoughts to him and his family. You're doing great running solo. Stay good. I really appreciate that, man. We're trying. We are trying. It is tough doing it solo, I have to admit. It doesn't come naturally to me. Especially, like, I'm cognizant of the fact that this is not just being recorded live on YouTube, but this is also going out on Spotify and the podcast apps. So, like, if I was, like, live streaming a game, it doesn't matter as much if there's dead air, you know, because I'm live streaming a game. You can watch the game for a little bit. You know, I'm actually playing the game and interacting on the fly. But because I'm cognizant of the fact this is also audio for you guys listening on Spotify and things like that, it's like it's quite fatiguing to like talk by myself to myself for 2 hours. So you guys in the chat giving me like feedback and, you know, things to talk about really, really help. So, you know, you guys are the co-hosts at the moment. So I really appreciate that. Mr. Supernova with the $2 says, Persona 4 Remake is the 4th one. I mean, you know, A lot of people have asked me about Persona 4 Remake. I haven't heard anything myself, but Microsoft and Atlas have obviously got like a pretty strong partnership right now. And they have shown Persona at Microsoft events in the near history, so yeah, I don't know. Who knows, man? Who knows? It would be cool to see, but we'll see what happens. MJ Fadeaway says, Jez, take a shot live on air. I don't have any alcohol. Well, that's not true, actually. I do have some alcohol, but it's been, I don't know. It's I don't have any mixers or anything, so we won't be doing shots on live this week. But I'm supposed to be podcasting with Gaz soon, and when I podcast with Gaz, there was always alcohol involved, so stay tuned for that one. Meat Puppet says, Jez, maybe use an AI model of Rand. That's the future, man. I mean, some of these AI. I saw this video of a dude like making himself look like the cast of Stranger Things in real time using AI. That's crazy, man. Like, eventually, you won't even need to podcast for yourself. You just ask a large language model to do it for you, simulate the cameras and all that stuff, and not actually have to do anything. It's the next 5 years. Like, I think everything's going to be different in the next 5 years. Everything's going to be completely changed. Content creation, game creation, the entire economy. Like, the big bottleneck with AI right now is electricity and actually sort of monetizing some of this stuff. ChatGPT says today that they're adding ads to ChatGPT, so a lot of companies are now trying to get to that monetization stage of the tech. They think like we're beyond the adoption stage, and you know, I think doesn't ChatGPT have something like 700 million monthly active users? So, you know, as like they scale up and you know infrastructure catches up with regards to electricity, we're probably going to end up in a situation where anyone can do anything very rapidly with AI. I was talking to someone at Microsoft yesterday about how during the Xbox 360 era, they used to get maybe a few dozen games launching a month, and nowadays they get like anywhere up to 1,000 games launching a month or a year. Sorry, not a month, a year. But the audience hasn't grown, so it's like we got thousands of games launching, but to the same amount of people, you know. Guy just chilling says, Jez, it's getting close to 900 million for ChatGPT. Yeah, it's crazy, man. And just think like how many of those users aren't actually monetizing. They are burning so much money to achieve that adoption. It's really a big question whether people will actually pay for it or not. And if they won't pay for it, then could be a huge bubble, man. But I think AI is here to stay. I mean, for sure, right? Even with its hallucinations and issues, it's definitely here to stay. I just wonder, like, what the mainstream applications are going to be like. Are we gonna, as AI podcasts, going to become the norm? You know, are AI games going to become the norm? Games made completely with artificial intelligence, or are people going to keep pushing back? You know. Because I think the pushback on AI stuff, whether it's podcasts or videos or games or whatever, the pushback's really strong right now. But eventually, are people going to start accepting it and just being like, yeah, I'll listen to an AI podcast, or yeah, I'll play a game made entirely with AI, or listen to a music album made entirely by AI? You know, will it eventually get good enough that it's indistinguishable from the real thing, from real human-made stuff? I think it could. I think it could go that way. Truckle Chuckle 450 with the £10. Thanks to you, buddy. Hi, Jez, and all the best to Rand. You're doing great, Jez. I remember when you panic if Rand had to answer the door, now you're smashing it. Do you think a studio missed the deadline for the January Xbox Developer Direct? That's a good question. Do I think a studio missed the deadline? I mean, it's always possible. I think one of the things about creating content for these kind of events is it takes time, right? It takes time. And one thing that Microsoft saw happen a few years ago, if you remember, when they showed off the Halo Infinite gameplay, and it just didn't look good because like a lot of the textures weren't fully implemented, some lighting features weren't implemented. I think the way they make games these days is a lot of the sort of a lot of the sort of the polish on the visual side goes in like towards the end of development. Whereas like back in the day, they didn't really have a lot of these features or techniques. So like what you saw is what you get. So like making things like demos and gameplay footage and all that kind of thing, it was a case of like, it was easier to get to a point where your game was presentable. Whereas like nowadays, it feels like your game becomes presentable towards the end of development rather than near the start of it. So that's how we ended up with the Craig meme for Halo Infinite. Because, you know, they hadn't well, I don't know if it was the fact they hadn't implemented it or not, but it just didn't look good. So I do wonder if like they want to avoid that situation again by presenting games that they don't have the full visual polish and the flair. So maybe that's a case for Gears of War E-Day. Maybe that's the case for Halo Campaign Evolved or something. Maybe that's the case for Clockwork Revolution. You know, although the gameplay footage we saw of Clockwork Revolution from a couple of years ago looked pretty fantastic already. I don't know, but it does detract from actually making the game when you're putting that stuff together. So I don't know. Maybe some developers didn't have something presentable for January Developer Direct, but there is so much in the oven being baked that you would hope that some of this stuff we'll see at the June showcase. I do think we'll see the State of Decay 3 at the June showcase. If we don't get Clockwork Revolution here, we'll see that at the June showcase, I would think. I really want to see Elder Scrolls 6 this year. Just something. You know, it's been so long since they announced that game, you know. And Bethesda's in such a weird situation because it's all Fallout now. Like, Fallout's the thing that ended up really big. Like, Elder Scrolls used to be their flagship, but since the TV show, it could be argued that Fallout's really the one with the most potential. And also, Fallout had the more popular mobile game, and Fallout's got the more popular service game with Fallout 76. So, like, it really does feel like Fallout's the one with the potential, but like, how far away are some of these Fallout projects, man? I saw a report from Ecstasis before we went live that said that the Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas Steam entries had seen some updates, which, you know, made people think that maybe the Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas remasters may be closer than people think. I heard that New Vegas was only just entering development for a remaster recently. Don't know how accurate that is. Don't have a huge amount of sourcing on it. But we knew Fallout 3 was getting a remaster from the Bethesda document leaks. Was that during the FTC leaks with the Xbox trial? I can't remember. But there was some documentation where Fallout 3 remaster was listed. And, you know, given the popularity of the Oblivion remaster, it's hardly like a revelation that these games are going to get remastered. It's not a revelation at all, man. So, you know, could we see one of those this year? I think maybe, definitely, we see Fallout. I think at least maybe we could see Fallout 3 remaster teased or revealed this year. But if we're really lucky, maybe we get both of them. I don't know. GillyGoose915 with the $4.99 says, do you think we'll be able to get achievements one day for playing Ubisoft games on the PC and Game Pass? It's so frustrating. Bro, I was literally thinking about this earlier today because I turned on my Xbox Ally and there's a big ad for Black Flag. So Assassin's Creed Black Flag is available on Xbox PC now via the Ubisoft Classics thing, which is part of Game Pass Ultimate. And then you click on it and it's just like, it's available on PC. It's not Xbox Play Anywhere. Doesn't have Xbox achievements, and it's just like this is the bare minimum amount of effort. You know, I'm pretty sure these games have achievements on Steam. Let me have a look. Let me have a quickie look at Assassin's Creed Black Flag on Steam. Does it have Steam achievements? Yes, it does. Of course it has Steam achievements. So it's like Microsoft and Ubisoft have partnered up on bringing Ubisoft classics to the Xbox PC store. But they can't even be bothered to put achievements in it, even though they've got Steam achievements. It is really frustrating. But I do kind of know that developers hate doing achievements. It's a lot of extra work, and it's not necessarily for a ton of benefit there. And it does feel like, at least for them, and it does feel like Ubisoft putting their games on the Xbox store is just, they've just put the bare minimum amount of effort in. But at the same time, it's like, I might have played Black Flag if it had Xbox Play Anywhere support and achievements and stuff. But because it doesn't, I'm going to play something that does have those features, and I've been playing Death Stranding, which, by the way, finally got its save bug fixed on Xbox PC. I don't know if you guys are aware, but Death Stranding has been broken on Xbox PC since it launched over 2 years ago now. It's been broken. It's been completely broken. You would play for 30 minutes, and then maybe if you were lucky, the game would save correctly like a couple of times. But after like the first time, it would stop saving the game. So you'd end up in a situation where like you carry on playing, maybe for 30 minutes or an hour, or maybe even 2 hours. And then you close the game, you'd save it and close the game, but then all your save file would roll back 2 hours or so, which is just lame, right? So I discovered this when I started playing the Xbox Ally, and I was actually doing the review of the Xbox Ally. And one of the games that runs really well on it is Death Stranding, for better or worse. And it's like, holy crap, this runs really well, and it looks gorgeous, and you can even run it on... And you can run it on low power mode, and still get like 30, 40 frames per second, even on low power mode. So you get like, you get all the, you know, the battery life, maximum battery life. But on Xbox PC, you had this save bug. Fantastical says, I played Death Stranding on PC, it had no issues. It's weird, man. It does seem like it affected people inconsistently, but if you go on Death Stranding on the Microsoft Store and look at the reviews, it's got like 2 out of 5 right now. And most people there are complaining about the fact that the save system doesn't work. But they fixed it this week. They bloody well fixed it this week. So I've started playing it again. You know, and at least, you know, when a game properly supports the platform, I'm sure it's probably going to lead to greater engagement. But all these Ubisoft games, they don't support achievements. They don't support Play Anywhere. So why would I bother playing the games that don't support the platform properly? You know, when there's like so many games that do support the platform properly. I don't know. I'm not even an achievement hunter. I don't care that much about achievements. But at the same time, it's like, it's just nice to have, I guess. So someone in chat says Black Flag has achievements, but it doesn't say that it does. If you go into like what features it has, there's no mention of it supporting achievements. Because usually it would say supports achievements, supports Xbox Play Anywhere, all that kind of thing. There's no mention of it supporting achievements. Which is just like, well, I'm not going to play it then. Sorry, lads. I'll play something else. Like Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater, which supports Xbox Play Anywhere, cloud saves, has achievements, supports Dolby Atmos, all the rest of it. You know, There's just tons of other stuff to play on Xbox PC. So like, why would I play stuff that doesn't support it properly? I don't know. We've got Analog AI with the Norwegian Krona. Is that right? Condolences to Rand. Fable Q1 2026. That'd be cool, man. I wouldn't say no to Fable in Q1. But, you know, Special Nick over at Xbox Era thinks Fable's going to be delayed to 2027. So, you know. That would be lame. Mr. Supernova says, with the $2, sorry, is Tim Kaine working at Obsidian for the KOTOR remake? Man, I have no idea. I would be shocked if Obsidian are working on Knights of the Old Republic remake, because wasn't that supposed to be Saber Interactive working on that? And then it reverted to another developer or something. I've lost track of what's going on with the KOTOR remake, because the KOTOR remake was originally funded by Sony, and then it lost its developer or something, and then someone else has picked it up. I can't remember what's going on with that. But one thing I do know is that the Star Wars license is incredibly expensive. Yeah, so Taylor JW in chat says it was Aspire Media, and then it switched to Saber Interactive. So yeah, and Didact Bruh says Knights of the Old Republic 2 is apparently happening elsewhere. And obviously Obsidian made Knights of the Old Republic 2 originally, right? So it would probably make sense for them to remake Knights of the Old Republic 2. But at the same time, I know that Microsoft's not a fan of how much the Star Wars franchise costs. But at the same time, they just had a lot of success with Indiana Jones, which is, again, a Disney franchise. So maybe that's changed their minds on it or something. It'd be pretty cool. But I haven't heard anything at my end about Knights of the Old Republic or what's going on with it. It'd be pretty cool to see, man. Ryan Hodgson says, with the £2, Randy's now basically dealer. Not quite, I don't think. Rand will be back. Just give him some time, man. Rand will be back. So yeah, what else happened in gaming news this week? I don't know if you guys saw this one, but last week, this guy... Hang on a sec, let me just get this up so I'm not misunderstanding the situation. So, I don't know if you guys saw this, but his name is... I'm not gonna pronounce his name correctly, but his name is Julian Geraghty, the executive producer of The Division. So last week, he put out a post saying that Division 3 is gonna have the same impact that Division 1 did. I really love The Division 1, and I played The Division 2 quite a lot as well. Don't know if you guys enjoyed The Division. I remember like The Division had like all this hype behind it from its original trailer. And The Division was kind of like Watch Dogs in the sense that the original trailer didn't really... The game didn't live up to its original trailer content, you know? And it sort of kicked off that... It sort of kicked off this backlash towards pre-rendered gameplay videos. Because like both Watch Dogs and The Division had these amazing initial trailers. And then the games themselves didn't really live up to the hype. But... I really enjoyed The Division for what it was. It's kind of like a shooter Diablo, basically. And Division 2 as well. I played it a fair bit. I didn't feel like it was as sticky as some of the other MMO kind of games out there. I felt like there were some aspects of the game that could have been handled better. I didn't think like, you know, some of the raid kind of content wasn't that good. The story wasn't that good either. I kind of feel like the game, people are going to roll their eyes at this, but I kind of feel like the game would have worked better if it was zombies, you know, because I didn't feel like the enemies were that satisfying to fight. They improved that a lot in Division 2, I think, when, you know, you peel off the enemy's armor and stuff as you're fighting them. But yeah, I don't know. And also, like, the way headshots work in that game, like, you have to, like, shoot him in the head, like, 1,000 times. Like, like, everything was a bullet sponge in the game. Which you kind of, like, need in a way, but also, I don't know. But anyway, I digress. The point is that last week, he said the Division 3 is shaping up to be a monster. Really hyping up the Division 3. But today, he's left Ubisoft and joined DICE to work on Battlefield. So, I really want to know what happened there. Like, the bloke was, like, really, you know, hyping up his game that he's working on and producing, like, basically directing, executive producer. And then he abandoned ship a week later? What happened there? That is really strange. So, does that sound like it's going to be bad for the Division? And then, like, the Division social media team put out a message, kind of downplaying the fact that he left. So, yeah, they signed it off like, Julian, your legacy is part of the studio. Remember, once an agent, always an agent. It's time for me to hang up my bag as I go on another grand adventure. The Division future burns bright, and I can't wait for you to discover what the team's been working on. Long live the Division. I mean, yeah, I mean, EA's got a lot of cash right now because they were just purchased by Saudi Arabia. So I presume they dropped a pretty big bag on him to leave Ubisoft. And also, we all know about Ubisoft's issues right now. Ubisoft has their share price is dead in the water. I think it's the lowest it's been pretty much ever, I think. And obviously Ubisoft's got a load of projects that seem like they're in development hell. Like, you know, where's Beyond Good and Evil? Like, that's still in development. Splinter Cell remake. Some of you guys asking in chat about that. I haven't heard a damn thing about it. Hazardor Gaming in chat, shout out to him. He just said, Jez, you see Far Cry teasing an announcement? Looks like 60 FPS update for Far Cry 3, Blood Dragon and Primal, you know. I mean, that's cool and all, but it's also like, where's the next mainline Far Cry, you know? So, Ubisoft has its problems, and I do think, like, jumping to EA is probably a smart move, given the way Ubisoft's going right now. But it's also, you know, problematic for Ubisoft who are trying to, like, I don't know, drum up confidence in their games and their platform and stuff. It's amazing that Ubisoft survived all of its, like, upheaval and issues and problems over the last year, last 2 years, last 3 years, probably last 4 years, to be honest. Ubisoft's had it tough, man. But yeah, like, some people in chat are noting, obviously DICE and Battlefield lost Vince Zampella, which I'm still sort of shocked about. That's just crazy, man. What a weird way to start the year. Weird and unexpected, awful way to start the year. So I suppose there is that aspect to consider, but I don't know. I really like, I rag on Ubisoft a lot. You guys know, like, if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, you've probably heard me hate on Ubisoft. But at the same time, like, I don't want them to die, man. I mean, I want them to be great. Like, Assassin's Creed is a great franchise. You know, and Ubisoft has obviously had a lot of wins. I really like the Trials games, but it sounds like they've gutted the studio that makes the Trials games. You know, I was a big fan of some Far Cry games. I really enjoyed Far Cry 5. I really enjoyed Far Cry Primal. And obviously Far Cry 3, but then, I don't know, like, Far Cry, the most recent, like, Far Cry 4 and Far Cry 6 were just, it's so strange with Ubisoft because the games kind of the way they approach game development, the games start feeling very samey. Like they all sort of blend into this sort of almost blancmange of familiarity. Like it's hard to describe exactly what it is about Ubisoft games where they all just start feeling very similar. And the ones that sort of rise above that formulaic structure the games often have are the ones that have the really, really memorable characters. Like, I think Far Cry 5 had really memorable villains. And then Assassin's Creed Black Flag, Assassin's Creed Syndicate for me, like, they also had really great villains and memorable characters. And obviously Black Flag was, like, incredibly ambitious kind of game. But, like, after Syndicate, I just stopped playing Assassin's Creed a lot. And then, oh man, what was it called now? Ghost Recon before Wildlands. Like, I played Ghost Recon. I'd play like Far Cry 6 and then Ghost Recon, and then another Assassin's Creed, and I was just like, I'm just playing the same game repeatedly with like a slightly different skin on it. Like, they become so formulaic, you know. I don't know what it is. Like, sometimes it can feel kind of cozy almost. And you sort of like, I actually kind of feel like playing this kind of game now. But I don't know. I tried playing Star Wars Outlaws as well at launch, and a lot of people said Star Wars Outlaws is better now, but I couldn't even play it beyond 2 hours because I was just like, it just felt so soft. Felt so soft, and you know, it should have been a little bit darker, maybe. I think a bit edgier. You know, I'm supposed to be an outlaw and a criminal, but I'm more like a Disney princess. You know, I don't know. And also, it really irritated me the whole game over thing for getting caught and stuff. I didn't enjoy it. But maybe I should go back and give Star Wars Outlaws another try. It was and I hated that little animal thing. But I know all Star Wars stuff has a little animal merchandise they sell, right? I also think I was just Star Wars fatigued, but I was I really want to see what they do with Splinter Cell Remake. Give me a game that isn't open world for once. That'd be nice. No. I don't know why like a lot of developers and publishers feel like their games have to go from they have to end up being open world. Like we saw this recently with the most recent Metroid Prime game, Metroid Prime 4. And a lot of people, I haven't played it myself, but one of the criticisms that I saw from Metroid Prime was the open world sections are awful, but the games that feel like Metroid Prime were great, you know. Why do developers feel like they have to progress to become an open world? I don't think every game needs to be open world, but it feels like every developer eventually wants their game to become open world. Like even The Evil Within try to be open world. I don't think some of these games need to be open world, man. I don't know. Is there something just more profitable about being open world? Now, Didac Bruh says same thing happened with Halo Infinite and Gears 5. Yeah, Dr. Scott says, Jez, why do you think incremental WoW expansions work for you, but sammy franchises like AC don't? Bro, like, I am completely in agreement with you. Incremental WoW expansions do feel samey for me too. But the difference is with World of Warcraft is I'm with my guild, you know. I've got my clan on Discord, and I've got a really good, cool guild at the moment. That makes a huge amount of difference. Like, if WoW was a single-player game, there's absolutely no way I'd be playing it. No chance I'd be playing it. And also, at the same time, like, I get bored of WoW. Like, I haven't played WoW since October, maybe? Kind of waiting for the expansion. But at the same time, it's like, if it wasn't for my guild, I probably wouldn't be playing WoW either. Because I do think WoW has become really samey. You know, I don't know. Lord Addict ILP says, "Where is Rand? He not here again." Yeah, like, dude, I said on last week's show, and I said it in the show, and I'll just let you guys know now if you're just joining us. The reason Rand hasn't been here for the last couple of weeks is he's dealing with the death of a close relative in his family. Got a lot to sort out and all that kind of thing. And there's a lot of family around, and he's just dealing with a lot of stuff right now. So hopefully we get back to normal soon, but I'm not going to rush Rand. Family comes first, right? Every time, man. But yeah, I don't know. I think with regards to like open world games and Ubisoft games, sometimes like I do feel like going back to it. Like I was literally looking at, like, this whole conversation started because I was talking about Assassin's Creed Black Flag, seeing that pop up on the Xbox Ally, and I was like, man, I kind of want to play Black Flag again, you know. And I often think about like playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla. It does feel like enough time for me has elapsed where I'm like, I could go for a Ubisoft game again, you know. But I think like when you go from like Far Cry 6 to Ghost Recon to Assassin's Creed, and they're all basically the same, and you play all of those games in like a short space of time, it does start feeling really repetitive. But if you go back, if you put it down for a while, and you come back to it, it's like, it's almost nostalgic and cozy, you know. You know, speaking of repetitive games, I've been playing Death Stranding a lot recently. And Death Stranding it's very different, but it's also, it's in that vein of, the whole game is fetch quests in an open world. But if you're in the right mood, it's really cozy and kind of satisfying. And I think Assassin's Creed games can be like that too. You know, and I've definitely felt like that. Like people criticize Ubisoft for the whole like the checklist kind of thing, but I do think there is a time and place for it. I played Assassin's Creed Black Flag to death, and I really enjoyed that gameplay loop. I just got tired of it because like every single Ubisoft game was like that, you know. But it's been so long now that I think I could probably go for it. And I've actually as I sit here talking about it, I'm kind of talking myself into downloading Assassin's Creed Valhalla because I haven't played it at all yet. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. Shout out to Sub Zedox in the chat. Haven't seen you here for a while, mate. Hello, dude. Mr. Supernova says, Peppa Pig open world. That'd be pretty sick. Hazardor Gaming says, everyone wants to be a Witcher. I mean, I think, like, I absolutely love The Witcher, and now I want to play The Witcher again. And there's all those rumors about The Witcher getting another story expansion this year. Like, sign me up, man. I'm just coming back. BT Maverick said, need a reunion show with Miles Domper and Jez. Yeah, man. Man, I need to catch up with Miles, because, like, I was playing Death Stranding, right? And I came across Miles' stuff in Death Stranding. He made like a big ass mushroom with a full bladder of urine. So shout out to Miles' urine, man. Carl Eastwood says Death Stranding is really satisfying. Yeah, man. Like I'm in the second area right now, building the roads. Like it is satisfying because you build the roads and then it's like, oh wow, now I can use my little motorbike to do the deliveries, you know. But Kojima games are just special. They're just special. And I was thinking about this yesterday while I was playing it. Like, I love how, like, Kojima games just constantly subvert your expectations. You can't even trust the UI in a Kojima game. You know, and it goes all the way back to, like, the PlayStation 1. And, like, having to swap the controller into the second port while you're fighting Psycho Mantis. And, like, Psycho Mantis reading your memory card and stuff like that on the PlayStation 1. Kojima subverts expectations at every layer of his game, man. you know. And I was playing Death Stranding, and I was in the bedroom area, and something you think of the bedroom area as like, oh, this is a safe place where nothing bad can happen and nothing weird can happen, and then you remember, oh wait, it's a Kojima game, so like even the UI can betray you in a Kojima game. I just love those constant, you know, it really keeps you on your toes. And even though Death Stranding is a game about literally delivering packages, I delivered a pizza yesterday playing Death Stranding. The fact that he can subvert your expectations even in a game like that is just something not enough developers take advantage of, man. It's a really great and relaxing game. FM World TD8142 says, Jez, do you think Fable can be a hit game? I honestly don't know, mate. I would say Playground Games are known for racing games. Their engine is known for racing games. They have never made a story game that I'm aware of. So to go from making sort of racing games to a character-driven game, I would say is a big leap. I don't think Fable's success is guaranteed based on what we've seen so far. But obviously I'm rooting for them. And it's going to be very interesting to see how well that game lands. Or doesn't land, I guess. I'm rooting for the game, but I gotta see more, man. And we'll see more in a couple of weeks. Or less than a couple of weeks now. So, don't know how you guys feel. Are you guys optimistic about Fable? I want to be optimistic, but, you know. One of those other, I suppose, things with Microsoft is they've never really delivered, or not for a long time, delivered a AAA Game of the Year contender kind of game that isn't in the simulation genre. So, you know, while Forza Horizon is obviously fantastic in its respective genre, it's not a game where you have to make characters or have a story and that kind of thing, right? And the games where they do deliver characters and AAA graphics, they're stuff like Hellblade, where there's no interactivity. They've got aspects within Microsoft. They've got aspects of making great games, but they never put them all together in a single project, you know. We've got games that have amazing combat, but maybe not particularly great stories. Or we've got games that have like really great combat and a great story, but they're kind of limited in their scope or something, you know. But if we've got Fable, which maybe it reaches up to that level of, or even coming close to something like The Witcher, I think that would be pretty huge, you know. Like Drew's Lim 1356 says in chat, Indiana Jones. Like, I think Indiana Jones was pretty damn close to being that, I think. But it's also like, it's not a very traditional kind of game, you know. I think it's unfair to judge Indiana like that, because I think Indiana Jones is amazing. But it's also like, it's not the kind of game that I think reaches that massive audience like a Witcher does, or even Assassin's Creed does. So that kind of comes back to what I was saying about it's limited in its scope, right? So I think Indiana Jones was excellent. It was great. But it didn't have that kind of like, you know, like a Ghost of Tsushima or an Elden Ring. One of these games that have like the really big, bombastic kind of scopes. And obviously Microsoft does have these kind of studios now. You know, it owns Bethesda. But Xbox Game Studios has never really delivered that. So Fable could be the first. So yeah, I'm optimistic, man. Colt Eastwood said, will Fable let you play as a male? I have no idea, mate. No idea. They do seem to be keeping that under wraps, but I'm sure we'll find out in a couple of weeks. Other than that, what other gaming news have we missed this week? Let's have a quick look-see here. I don't know, man. Did you guys see that we're getting a Fallout reality TV show in the vein of Big Brother, where a bunch of dudes have to live in a vault, a Fallout shelter? I think that game show is either going to be really good or really, really bad. I don't think there's going to be any in between there. It's going to be amazing or it's going to be terrible. Will any of you guys watch it? I'll probably watch it. I'm really on a big Fallout kick right now, so I'll probably will watch it. But yeah, it's been a slow news week this week, man. There hasn't been a ton of like interesting or compelling news. So I think we might go to Patreon Q&As, and if you guys have got any questions in the chat, drop them in as well, and then we'll discuss those too. We've got Nazir Hussain with the Canadian $6.99. Hi Jez, take care, Rand. Weird we've only had one trailer with no gameplay in almost 2 years. Enough marketing time if it only shows in June seems odd. What game are you talking about, mate? Are you talking about Fable? Maybe you're talking about Fable because we were talking about it. I'm not sure. Let me know what game you're talking about, mate. Oh, for E-Day, for Gears of War. Yeah, maybe. I mean, yeah, if Gears of War E-Day is supposed to be launching... if Gears of War E-Day is supposed to be launching this year, it is weird that we haven't heard much from it. Maybe it's one of the secret games for the developer direct. Or maybe they're just sort of, you know... Maybe they're just sort of, you know, waiting till closer to the time. I don't know. I don't know, man. It is a bit weird, isn't it? Jasper Shalvin says, Jez, what do you mean you don't know if you can play as Matt? You confirmed that you could a year ago. I didn't confirm it. I'd heard, like... I don't have great sourcing on it, so I don't think I confirmed it. Someone told me that you could play as a male, but I think they were unsure as well. If I'm remembering correctly, I think they were unsure too. So I never put that in my report because I ain't 100% sure on that. But we'll see. We'll see. Hey, Fury J West, how do you feel about Drew McIntyre being champion again? Yeah, mixed. I got mixed feelings about Drew McIntyre because he's obviously like he won the belt on SmackDown, and I think like they're setting him up in a transitional kind of way. Drew's a really great company man, and he just kind of like just does what he's told. I feel like Drew deserves better. He works so much harder than a lot of the wrestlers, man. I don't know. But I do like Drew McIntyre. I think he's great. Yeah, a lot of people are mentioning this in chat as well. Larry Major Nelson just got laid off from Unity, which I think is wild. So if you guys don't know, Unity is Unity 3D. They make a game engine which is used by a lot of people. A lot of developers use Unity. It's very popular in the indie scene. But they've laid off Major Nelson, which follows him, I think, kind of being laid off from Microsoft. Like being ousted or something like that. Or they made his job redundant. I don't know. But it's a tough time in gaming right now. I don't know if some of you guys saw this, but one of the big discourse things on Twitter this week was Nintendo's share price is down 30%, something like that, 30% in the last 6 months. You know, it does feel like there's a downturn coming in gaming. Like, the audience isn't growing, but there's more games than ever flooding into the platform. So, per game, there's less money being made per game because there's so many games to play. And also, one thing I keep hearing is that free-to-play games are becoming a real problem on PlayStation, Xbox, and on Nintendo Switch. Like Fortnite, Roblox, stuff like that. They're becoming a real problem because not only do people not spend money, a lot of people don't even spend money in these games. They don't buy the skins, or they've bought skins years ago and they're just happy with the skins they've got and they don't want to change or buy new skins and stuff like that. So a lot of these free-to-play games, they aren't monetizing on PlayStation and Xbox anymore. And Nintendo as well. And then you've got things like RAM prices being an issue, and you know, it's a tough time in gaming, man. It's a tough time, you know, and there aren't enough people coming in versus the amount of games being made. Like, there's more games flooding the market than ever. And with AI, it's only going to get even worse, right? And obviously, there are still games that become breakout hits. But for every breakout hit game there's like 100 more games that just don't ever make a penny, you know. And I think a lot of these companies are feeling the pinch. I think Inverse shut down. Like, a lot of games media is shutting down. A lot of gaming journalists are being laid off. A lot of YouTubers are struggling with finding traffic as well on gaming. And it's not necessarily because there's fewer people gaming. It's just because there's just so much competition now. Whether you're like, everything's sort of diluted. And these free-to-play games, and because people are nervous about money, people are playing more free-to-play games as well than ever, which kind of like reduces the amount of money being spent all up, right? So I do think gaming's going to probably see a bit of a downturn in the next few years, but it'll bounce back. It'll bounce back. We've got Puckish Rogue with 10 US. Hey Jez, how are you doing? Resident Evil 9 comes out next month, but I have a dilemma. I want to buy it on the PC I built last year. Will my RX 6600 XT handle it, or will it look better on the Xbox? Keep up the good work. I'm really sorry, mate, but I'm not that familiar with that card. So I don't actually know how well that stacks up against the Series X version. I mean, Resident Evil games are generally pretty well optimized, I think. Like, I know Monster Hunter World had its issues, and that was another news thing from this week, that they discovered Monster Hunter World is so laggy on PC because of all the DLC checks it does to the web. But the Resident Evil games are generally well optimized because the engine is designed for Resident Evil kind of gameplay, right? Monster Hunter was not really designed for that engine. But, you know, just looking up a quick comparison here, like, it does sound like that graphics card is not as powerful as the Series X. Like, the Series X has more compute units, more teraflops maybe. So you might end up getting a better experience on Xbox, but honestly don't know for sure. But Puckish Rogue, maybe, because Resident Evil 8 is getting Xbox Play Anywhere. Maybe you get lucky and Resident Evil 9 gets Play Anywhere, and then we end up with, you can play it on both, you know. Because, like, almost every Resident Evil game has Play Anywhere now. Resident Evil 2 has Play Anywhere. Resident Evil 7 has Play Anywhere. Resident Evil 8 has Play Anywhere now. Resident Evil 3 doesn't have Play Anywhere, but it is on Xbox PC, but it doesn't have Play Anywhere. Resident Evil 4 is on Xbox PC, but Resident Evil 7 and 8 are. So maybe Resident Evil 9? Maybe Resident Evil 9 would Play Anywhere? And then you won't have to worry about which platform to play it on. You can just play it on both. Chris R55 with the $5 US says, is it possible we get another show in between the Dev Direct and June showcase? Gears feels like it could use a dedicated showcase. I think that's very possible. It's happened in the past. So I suppose I could ask and try and find out about that, but I don't think that's impossible. I think it's possible. But usually what they do, what's happened in the past between the Dev Direct and the June showcases, we've had like indie showcases and things like that. They have dropped trailers for games in between these kind of showcases, but I also feel like if the game's coming out near the showcase, they'd probably just hold it back for the showcase and have a big blowout and make it the headline act for the June showcase. So, while I think it's possible, I think the most likely outcome is that we see it at the June showcase. I'd have to guess. I think that's what I'm guessing. Simon with the £5 says, hi Jez, what about a guest co-host from the community? You could do an RDX and launch the next big thing. RDX? Was that Dealers? That was Dealers podcast, right? RDX. Maybe. I wouldn't be against having a co-host, you know, but I'm hoping that Rand's back next week and we get back to normal. Obviously I did Xbox 2+1 with Paris Lily the other week. That's up on Patreon, up on my channel, so and I am trying to get a cool guest for next week's Xbox 2+1. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, anyways, I think we'll grab some Patreon Q&As, and then we'll take some other questions from the audience. So, you know, if you've been enjoying the show, please smash the like button for Rand. Like all these super chats are going straight to Rand. This is on Rand's channel, and you know, and hopefully we get back to normal last week. Like I said, it has been a weird few weeks, and you know, Rand's been dealing with a lot, but you know, I'm doing my best. Doing my best for you. So first up on Patreon Q&As, we've got good old Collingwood. And good old Collingwood says, Jez, how big is the video game industry? The question would be like those videos that scale objects in ascending order, from the size of an atom to the size of an observable universe. We have Xbox, which plays host to about 40 million people with a lot of different studios. We're on PlayStation, Nintendo. Let's be generous. Say there are about 50 to 70 studios under the umbrella of the console makers. Now let's include the large gaming companies which own a lot of studios. Catering the console market is generous to say 150 studios all up. We haven't included PC gaming. Well, we can say the console market is by and large also caters to PC gaming, Nintendo notwithstanding. It is to be remembered that there are a lot of very small studios, independent from the large publishing houses mentioned earlier. We take the number of games submitted to Steam every year, we're talking tens of thousands of games. Is there equally that many studios? And then here comes mobile gaming. Oh man. Here comes mobile gaming. Everyone here in the console and PC gaming chat refers to mobile as the uncle we don't talk about, but it's a very rich uncle. What would you suggest mobile adds to the size of the video game industry? Slight digression. I play a game called Microsoft Treasure Hunt for the Microsoft reward points playing a PC game. I load it up, let it run idle while I do something else. While it's running, it serves me ads for hidden object and farm management games. Games such as Farmville on Facebook, Solitaire, Minesweeper, those games you see in the App Store for your smart TV, all of which comprise the App Store casual game market. Goodness knows how many studios fall into that market. Going back to the top, how big is the video game industry? How many people are employed in it? How many studios? How much money is swirling around in it? I wanted to ask you this question because I think you could wrap your head around it, but even if you can't, it does make you think how huge this hobby is and we participate in. Apologies for the length of the question. It's really interesting that you mention this because this is kind of like what I was talking about a second ago with regards to the amount of studios and companies that want to get into gaming, the amount of venture capital that gets thrown at gaming. versus the amount of people that actually exist in gaming. So there seems to be like a finite amount of people who want to play video games at any one time. You know, I think Satya said in the past that the total addressable market for gaming is about 2.5 billion people, right? 2.5 billion people. Vast majority of that cohort are mobile casual gamers, you know, playing like your Candy Crush kind of games, which is why Microsoft bought Candy Crush in the first place. They've got that market cornered potentially. But at the same time, you know, we've got a core gaming segment, which is like all of you guys and myself, the people who will play multiple games. The problem is that younger kids coming into that segment aren't behaving the same way we do. They don't want to buy multiple games. They only want to play games in Roblox, or if they spend money at all, there's so many free-to-play games that offer that sort of, for them, what they consider to be a high quality experience. And they've grown up with things like TikTok and Instagram as their sort of entertainment vectors, you know, swiping up on the phone. And all of that is free with ads. That's their experience. They don't want to pay for games. I've said this before, I have this memory of like asking a younger cousin if they wanted to play Minecraft. And they were shocked that Minecraft costs money. The fact that Minecraft wasn't free was a shock to them, you know, and they've grown up expecting that. So while the gaming market overall, like, it's a really big universe, if we're talking about like in terms of like the universe, the gaming market's a huge universe. But now like there's so many planets in the universe, but there's still the same amount of people. So it's kind of like you're spreading out. It's kind of like the real universe. As far as we know, humans are the only intelligent species in the galaxy that we know of. So it's kind of like spreading out the population of Earth over various different planets. And it's only getting worse. You know, so the more games that come in, you know, the amount of spend is the same, and it's being diluted across a much larger surface area of games because there are more games than ever, you know, and we've got like open and publishing platforms now, and it's the dev tools are cheaper, and the information on how to make a game is out there. Like anyone can make a game. Anyone watching this show could make a game. If you go on Udemy and then look up a Unity course, within 6 months, you would have the ability to make a capable 2D game in Unity for free, and then, or practically for free, and then publish it on Steam. But there are thousands of people doing this. And, you know, if I've only got like, say I've only got like $30 to spend on a game a month, or $40, you know, and I buy this person's game and not your game, then you kind of like, you're depleting the amount of profitability per game that exists. Now, this is why Microsoft made Xbox Game Pass in the first place. Because it kind of, Game Pass in theory insulates developers against that diluted audience. You know, if Game Pass, Phil said in an interview, Game Pass is like a content fund to ensure that developers get funded and are paid regardless of potentially how well their game would have sold at retail. So like their game might not have performed very well at retail, especially if it's an indie game. Maybe that game would never have performed well at retail, but because it's free, as part of Game Pass, that means they get paid regardless. And because the engagement might be higher because it's free, it kind of behaves more like a game inside of Roblox, rather than, you know, a game that would live and die, most likely die as a result of retail. So, you know, I don't know if that exactly answers the question you wanted to make, the question you were asking, but the size of the gaming industry is relative to the amount of people willing to spend in it is something they're thinking a lot about right now, which is why I think, guys, I really think this year this year is going to be the year we start seeing ads more prevalently in games. Because for all those games that don't monetize as well as they used to, like a Fortnite, platform holders are increasingly thinking like, how do we monetize this shit? And I think one of the ways you're going to see them monetize it is when you boot up Fortnite on your Xbox. If you aren't paying, you know, if we're lucky, that is, if you aren't paying for Game Pass, you'll probably see an ad when you boot up Fortnite on your Xbox. You'll see an ad before the game loads. And I think like the next Xbox, like I've heard that the next Xbox will have no paywall for multiplayer at all, right? But I think the way they monetize that is when you boot the game up, you see an ad first. You know, like you do on Amazon Prime or on Netflix right now. Like, I subscribe to Amazon Prime for Fortnite. For Fallout TV show, sorry. And I was surprised to see that even though I subscribe, I've still got to see ads, you know. So you gotta think about what the gaming companies are kind of thinking about now. Like, when their console hardware has zero margin on it, how do you monetize that shit? You're gonna do it with ads. So I think this is the year we start seeing ads doing it. Lao Shimazaki in chat says, I would see sports games being the first ones to do it. I think it'll be at the platform level. I think Xbox and PlayStation will do it all up. When you boot the game up, if you're not subscribed, you'll see an ad. And maybe if you are subscribed, you see an ad. But I do think ads in the platform is something you're going to see this year. Maybe next year. But definitely soon. Captain Chat says, if I start seeing ads before my game loads, I'm going to go fucking mad. That, yeah, people ain't going to be happy, man. But Solid Theater says, ad-free benefit added to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that's probably going to be how it plays out. It's going to be like, subscribe if you want to get the ads away. I think that's probably going to be how it plays out. Because, you know, they need more money. Or they want more money. Developers want to get paid more. And all costs are going up. And the amount of people coming in aren't going up. So, as costs go up, you have to figure out ways of monetizing the existing user base more, you know. So I think ads is an obvious one that it's a low-hanging fruit, right? When you boot the game up, you'll see an ad. That's my prediction for 2026. Cosmic Czar with the €6 says, remember when every IP had Hearthstone-like and we got Fable Fortune? They should bring it back in the new Fable to play and collect cards like Gwen. Yeah, I do remember Fable Fortune. It was pretty cool. There was another Fable minigame. Ah, man. Even before Fable Fortune, I can't remember what it's called. Does anyone in chat remember a Fable minigame? It came out on the 360. And I think it came out before Fable 2 came out. Can't remember what it was called. But yeah, there's been a bunch of Fable minigames. One thing I would like to see, if Fable does well, and given the amount of British talent that's in, Atlas 7X pub games, the Fable pub games, I played that a lot. It was pretty cool, man. But like, given the pedigree of the talent that's in the Fable game, it wouldn't shock me if Fable would translate well to either a cartoon or a even live action show. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if Fable could become a franchise, you know. But we'll see what happens. I'd love to see the Fable get a card game or pub games back. I think that'd be lit. And next question we've got is from Omen. Hi, Jez. I unfortunately recently got a concussion. Oh man, that sucks, dude. I'll be okay, it'll just take time. How did you get a concussion? I really want to know the story behind that. As such, I'm forced to limit my screen time and I've been listening to a lot of audiobooks. Do you happen to have any book recommendations that aren't too complicated for my dumb, concussed brain? So far I've read Halo the Fall of Reach and I thought it was pretty good. I hope Ran is doing okay and takes all the time he needs to grieve and recover. Yeah, thanks for that, dude. Book recommendations that aren't too complicated. I'm not a good person to ask this because, as we all know, I don't really read books. I haven't read books. I used to read. I tell a lie. I used to read books when I was like younger. I read tons of books, man. I was really obsessed with Goosebumps. I don't know if any of you guys read Goosebumps, man. The Thing That Lived Beneath the Sink. I love that book. But I don't know if Goosebumps counts. They're like kids' books, right? The person you should ask about books is probably either Rand, or you should ask Joaquin. Joaquin Phoenix knows all about the books. Maybe chat has some book recommendations. Some of the books that I've read as an adult include The Wasp Factory. If you like horror, The Wasp Factory, fantastic book. And also Misery by Stephen King. I read that when I broke my ankle skateboarding. And I couldn't go out. But yeah, I haven't read many books, man. I'm really sorry. I read some Warcraft books. Like, if you're willing to not read audiobooks and you want something that's not too complicated, maybe read some graphic novels, man. Or even like manga, maybe. Like Berserk. Berserk's a great manga. But like, if you want to see like where sort of Dark Souls and Elden Rings derive from, when you read Berserk, it's like, oh shit, that's in Dark Souls. Or oh shit, that's in Elden Ring. Also, there's some great Batman graphic novels I've read. I really like the Batman graphic novel Contagion. It's like Batman in zombie apocalypse. I really enjoyed that. I'd recommend H.P. Lovecraft, but because it's in kind of old English, it's very verbose and probably might be a bit too complicated. But oh man, that sucks about your concussion, man. I hope you get better soon, dude. What have we got here? Nitram nicked it with the Norwegian 100. Jez, thanks for making good solo shows. Do you think Subnautica 2 will turn out well in 2026, or has the studio slipped with all the lawsuits and shift to AI first studio? Man, that's a really good question. I've tried to get into Subnautica a couple of times, but for whatever reason, I haven't been able to. Maybe I should give Subnautica another go, because it is on the Xbox Ally. Let me know if I should give Subnautica another try. I want to believe that Subnautica 2 will turn out well, but the studio has had a lot of issues. The original creators were kind of ousted, and Krafton were blaming them and saying they haven't hit milestones because the studio hasn't cracked the whip properly and all that stuff. I want to believe the game will ship well. I haven't heard anything, about it on my end. I haven't really looked into it that much, but I would hope that, Subnautica 2 is surely probably one of Krafton's most important projects. So I would hope that Krafton doesn't squander the opportunity they have. And if it needs to be delayed, then so be it. But there are some examples of one thing we didn't talk about on the show is Hightail. So I don't know if you guys are aware of this, because this is more of an Xbox slanted show, but one big thing going on PC right now is this game called Hightail. So like Riot was publishing Hightail, and it was supposed to be like a Minecraft kind of competitor, but with more of a focus on RPG gameplay. So it's kind of like Minecraft, but also more modernized combat and armor and like a more modern engine, but it is very Minecraft coded. But Riot, for whatever reason, they wanted to cancel it. Now, the developers purchased the game back from Riot, and they've launched it in early access, and I think it's already sold like 1 million copies or something. Something like that. So, I think even if Subnautica 2 isn't hitting its milestones, maybe it's a case of just stick it in early access and work with the community to build it up and make it better. But the fact that Hightail came out, despite the fact like Riot wasn't going to launch that shit, but like Hightail still sold 1 million copies in its sort of unfinished state, because people want to believe that eventually it could become good. And early access funds development. I have No Rest for the Wicked just hit 1 million in sales. That's the game from Moon Studios. That just hit 1 million sales in early access. And it's a way to fund development. And Baldur's Gate, obviously, Baldur's Gate 3 was famously in early access. And then you've got like some of the outliers, like Star Citizen, which has raised $1 billion in early access. Which is probably never ever going to be finished, but you know, it's a lot of people believe in it. So I think even if Subnautica 2 launches this year and it's not fantastic from the outset, I think if they position it as an early access thing, eventually it could be good. We'll see. Cody Bishop with the $4.99 says, there are some amazing audiobooks from the Alien franchise on Audible. You can't go wrong with Stephen King, It, Desperation, and The Shining. Yeah, man. That's for you, Omen. Some more book recommendations there. Highlanders Grim with a $5 says, Jez needs a bear suit to wear like Alex with the banana suit. Have a great weekend, everyone. Oh, man. I mean, maybe one day we start doing cosplay streams. I have done a cosplay stream once on my channel. When I was playing Fallout 76, I bought a cowboy hat. So we were kind of doing like, you know, bounty hunter thing. You know, maybe we go down that route someday. But I'm just not as attractive as Alex. Like, the dude's got like a 6-pack and shit. No, nobody wants to see me with my shirt off, man. I wouldn't need to do a bear cosplay. Like, I'm like hairy, man. Like, I'm pretty hairy. And I can't drink, apparently. By the way, like, I don't know if anyone here is from Germany, but this is carrot juice, and it's fantastic. I'd never in my life think that I would enjoy carrot juice, but this German carrot juice drink is fantastic, man. Absolute fantastic. Lord Addict as Sailor Moon is singed in my mind. Lord Addict did Sailor Moon? That's amazing, bro. I need to see that. Christopher Maraski said with the 10 says, Jez, are you here for Doomsday? Doom 3 and Doomsday launching on the same day. It'll only be 8 hours at the theater to watch both of them. I'll be here for Dune, but I've never gotten into the Marvel stuff, man. I've tried getting into Marvel multiple times, and I just can't get into it. I don't know why. It's too happy, it's too bright and colourful, it's too funny. I can't get into it, but I would definitely be there for Dune 3, man. I love Dune 1 and 2. I think Dune 1 and 2 are amazing. I really want to see where they take that. Fuzzy Tomato says, Jez, have you played Hades 2 yet? It seems right up your alley. I'm still struggling with Hades 1, man. Like, I don't know why. Like, I've fully completed Elden Ring and killed every single boss. You know, and people say Elden Ring is hard, but like, Hades 2, for some reason, I find 10,000 times harder than Elden Ring. I don't know if I'm doing something wrong. Like, I've talked about it before on the show. I get to like the 3rd or 4th boss, and I'm just like, how are you supposed to like survive long enough to complete this run? You know, and I've got as many upgrades as I possibly can get. I just suck at the game. I don't know. I'm just really bad at it. But one thing I did want to test is because Hades 1 on Xbox Play Anywhere on PC had a similar save file bug. To Death Stranding. So I want to see if like that was fixed as well recently. I don't know. Next up, we've got a question from Lee Sanders. Hey Jez, I'm getting back into Lego. Just picked up a few bits. You ever get Lego? Have memories of it? Actually, Lee, if you're watching on the live stream, I'm just gonna show this. I got this Lego for Christmas, which I built today. It's a little spider. I don't know what breed of spider it is, but it's very colourful, yellow and black. But yeah, Lego spider. We're rocking that. So I do like me some Lego. I think Lego's awesome. I just don't have a lot of space for it, you know, unfortunately. I've got some Overwatch Lego. I've got Wrecking Ball, and I've also got a Lego Bastion somewhere that I haven't even built yet. So I like the little model Legos. But I did used to have a lot of Star Wars Lego, but I gave it away to a friend of the family's kids. I had some Minecraft Lego for a bit, but I gave that away as well. Because it just takes up so much space, man. Like if I ever got my own place, I'd get a lot of that Lego back, I think. I do love Lego. I think Lego's awesome. Next up, we've got Vito. Will this year further confirm the Xbox tax and the ratings on all these games coming in lower than expected? The standards people hold Microsoft and Xbox affiliate stuff to versus everyone else continues to be a source of frustration. You'd think Sony was putting out mad games every year, and each one was the favourite for Game of the Year, and Nintendo doesn't take advantage of their customer base at all monetarily. But also, bleep Microsoft as a company and the AI bleep stain. Yeah, I mean, the Xbox tax is kind of real, but it's also a little deserved. I think some of it does stem from the fact that Xbox is affiliated with Microsoft, and Microsoft is kind of a company that has shown repeatedly that it doesn't have a moral compass, you know. Like they'll kind of like try and corporate wash their image and say things like, "Oh, we're gonna save the planet with, you know, with our carbon plans and stuff like that," and then in the same breath blow up their carbon emissions by 150% while they're trying to grow out this AI stuff. Like Brad Smith yesterday Brad Smith, Microsoft president, put out an article saying Microsoft wants to be a community-first AI data center company, you know, while they're pushing up electricity prices and things like that. And I thought it was interesting, that article, because it only talked about the effect they're having on America. You know, and a lot of companies, like, they don't have localized electricity prices. They have like a wholesale price. So like Microsoft, some of Microsoft's proposals wouldn't have even had any impact on, you know, like the United Kingdom, for example. But anyways, I digress. It will be interesting to see if Fable is genuinely good and the kind of game that journalists like and the zeitgeist likes, then I think it'll, you know, they'll be rewarded as such. I think one of the issues is Microsoft often doesn't make the kind of games that do well in the discourse. You know, racing games don't do well in the discourse, even though they're really popular. Flight Simulator is an incredibly popular game, and the aviation fan base are incredibly passionate, and they will spend thousands of dollars building like flight simulation rigs and things like that. But again, doesn't do well in the discourse, you know. So, but the discourse doesn't exactly translate into dollars. Like, even though like none of us, I don't think most people here care that much about Flight Simulator. I don't. But it makes money hand over fist for Microsoft. Age of Empires as well doesn't do well in the discourse. But I'll tell you this, World's Edge is one of Microsoft's most profitable studios. I was told that recently, you know. You wouldn't believe it. The way, like, none of us ever talk about Age of Empires. But Age of Empires is a massive franchise. And the studio, World's Edge, is doing incredibly well. You know, so while I do think there is a tax in the discourse, if you tune it out and like zoom out and actually look at how popular some of these games are and how well some of these studios are doing, like none of it matters. Like people always talk about how like Overwatch is dead, and it's like I'm just sitting there like in the knowledge laughing about how much money Overwatch still makes hand over fist, you know. It's funny like how the discourse doesn't often match with reality. Like I was thinking about this with regards to the Fallout TV show recently. Because I've been tweeting about Fallout, Twitter is showing me like Fallout tweets in my feed. And most of them are just negative. Like some of these tweets have like thousands of likes talking about how terrible the TV show is and all that kind of thing. But the TV show is like one of the most popular TV shows on television right now. So like even though like you get like these New Vegas purists who are just like they love New Vegas and hate anything else to do with Fallout. And like the discourse on Twitter would have you think that Bethesda was the worst thing that ever happened to Fallout. Meanwhile, Fallout 76 is probably the most profitable Fallout ever. And, you know, and people were talking about like the Metacritic scores, like Fallout 3 is like the highest Metacritic Fallout game, but the way people talk about it, you'd think it was terrible, and like anything Bethesda touches is terrible. Like Fallout became a household name because of Bethesda's treatment of it, you know. But then you get all this discourse like Todd Howard hates Fallout, and it's just weird. So I do think like there is something to be said about the so-called Xbox tax, but I think like don't get frustrated about it. Just ignore it, because it's honestly just not real. It's not relevant, man. It's not relevant. Yeah, Lao Shimazaki said, it's like Asmongold saying that WoW is dead. The game is still huge here. Like, World of Warcraft is still huge in general. Like, I do think, like, World of Warcraft's not as big as it was during Wrath of the Lich King, but it's still huge, and it's still one of the highest grossing video games of this year, you know? And part of that is, like, they have more aggressively monetized their audience than they have in the past. They've never put the subscription fee up anymore, but they do sell $100 mounts, which is annoying. But at the same time, you control the buttons you press. You don't have to buy the $100 mounts. Let the whales buy it, you know. I mean, Asmongold could afford a $100 mount. So if people can afford that shit, fine. Like, I remember like seeing the backlash to the $100 mount on Twitter. And then the next day I log into Ogrimmar and everyone's got a bloody $100 dinosaur mount. So, you know, the discourse doesn't often line up with reality. And I think a lot of the health of a lot of Xbox's franchises are a lot better than the discourse would have you believe, you know. But it is annoying if you're a fan, you know. I do get that. Next up, we've got Goggles Lens. Hello, Solo Jez. I have a bit of a technical question, so perfect for just Jez. Oh, I don't know if I'm maybe slightly better than Rand, but not that much better. I have the regular ROG Ally, and I've been trying to get its gyro to be seen by Steam settings to be able to play Steam FPS game. Have the gyro working like a mouse and try to use it to aim. I'm not so much at a disadvantage against keyboard and mouse players. I tried using software to emulate the PlayStation controller to use its gyro, but I never got it to work. Do you have any ideas? I've never tried gyro aiming, ever. So, I'm not a good person to ask about this. But, I don't know. There is, if you go on Reddit and go on the Xbox Ally subreddit, and then in that subreddit, there is a link to the Discord for the Xbox Ally Discord. If you go in there, there might be someone who can answer your question, but I personally don't know much about the gyro stuff. With controllers in mind, I'm hoping the next Xbox controllers have gyro, Goggles Lens says. I've always thought stuff like haptics is really gimmicky, like blowing into the controller to move a fan in game. You know, a thing that is only in like 5 times only in a first-party game and they're never used by other developers ever. With Xbox going to PC, a gyro can be really realistically used like a mouse would be good, and for general aiming, which I would assume that Xbox game and console would support gyro. I mean, that's a good point. You know, if the next Xbox is going to be more like a PC, I do think it's important that the inputs mimic that to some degree. I don't know how they pull that off. Windows is a pain to deal with without a cursor sometimes. Like, and I know they are looking at fixing this, but with the Xbox Ally right now, when you dock it, it's really annoying because you can't manipulate the display settings with a controller. So you pretty much have to plug a mouse in to get the display right if you're outputting to a 4K monitor or a TV or something like that. Microsoft is going to improve that soon, but as of right now, it's really irritating. Another thought with the controller, but this will be probably better for Elite controller, is to copy Sony's idea to be able to remove the entire stick and replace them with separate parts, removing the stick drift completely. Even though you have to buy other parts, you don't need to buy new controllers. I do think repairability needs to be a focus of the next Elite controller, because as a lot of you guys know, the current Elite controller has an issue with its bumpers. I don't know if the latest iteration does. I've recently purchased a new Elite controller about 6 months ago. So far, the bumper's been working fine, but I've gone through like 3 or 4 Elite controllers where the bumpers have failed on all of them. So repairability will be nice. I've tried repairing it myself, and you end up destroying the controller in the process because of the rubber and things like that. So I do think having a more repairable controller, or just a more repairable anything, would be fantastic. So I do think like having more modularity, whether it's, you know, upgradable sticks, you know, and Goggles Lens also talks about plastic skins of controllers that give your controller a new look without having to buy more. I think that'd be cool too. And then finally, Goggles Lens says, I can't not talk about Double Fine maybe being at the Developer Direct. I've been waiting for them ever since Developer Direct started happening. I think Double Fine is a great developer to have as a casual environment for the audience to see in the studio. They already do this with Day of the Dev, so it'd be perfect for them. Have a good day, cheers. Yeah, I do hope we see Double Fine. I need to go back and finish Psychonauts. I never actually finished it, but I do think Double Fine's like a really cool and eclectic studio. But at the same time, I think it would behoove them to try and make something, to take that creativity, that visual flair, and just try to make something more mainstream. Like, I think I do like admire that they really want to make different kind of games, but I do at the same time think with the way the industry, it worries me with the way the industry's going. It worries me that Double Fine have made themselves so niche that they might become business unviable in a time where people like Amy Hood are probably looking for the next studios to cull, you know. So, I'm worried for Double Fine, in the current climate, with Amy Hood running the show. So I think it would behoove them to try and make something more mainstream in the near future, and that goes for a lot of the other studios, man. So yeah, I don't know. Next up, we've got Chris M. Hang on, I'll just check if we had any super chats rocking here. Nope, good. Next up is Chris M. Evening, Jez. I hope you're having a good one, and our thoughts are still with Rand and his family. I have to ask, how does Xbox dropping the price of Series X back down to $600 after the holidays make any sense at all? I get New Year's sales, but they left it and they raised the price for Christmas and then dropped it back down almost immediately after. I find it truly baffling. Perhaps you have better insight into their methods. Honestly, Chris, I think this is probably a result of the tariffs, because Microsoft, like, they moved, it was pretty much over Christmas, they were moving Xbox production from China to Vietnam. So I don't think this is really them dropping the price. I think the margins for Xbox are still the same. They basically passed on the tariff costs to consumers, and then the prices drop back down because the tariffs have come down a bit, because now they're in Vietnam, which is shielded from some aspects of the tariffs. So I think I would expect that it's to do with the tariffs. Microsoft's margins on the Series X, or PlayStation or Nintendo's for that matter, are the same or worse. So this isn't necessarily a case of like them being greedy, like it genuinely isn't. This is a case of America's tariff policy being fucking stupid, frankly. So consumers are paying the price of the tariffs. These are a tax which are going straight to the American government to do with I don't know what. So it's not necessarily Microsoft's fault here. You know, you could argue that maybe they should have moved to Vietnam more quickly, but that's not a silver bullet, you know. Vietnam could catch more tariffs tomorrow because of how chaotic this whole system for tariffs has been, and arbitrary. So yeah, it's all about the tax being paid by consumers, and the margins for Microsoft are the same. And you could say, well, they should absorb the costs, but we're not really in that universe anymore. Like Xbox back in the day, they might sell consoles at cost or worse to try and drive adoption. But we're in a universe where adoption is saturated. Adoption is not going to go up, you know. So like, this is kind of like what we were talking about earlier with ChatGPT. Like, when ChatGPT was in user acquisition mode, they had no ads. But now they feel like they've hit a saturation point and they're not going to get any more users. Now they start to monetize, and now it's going to get ads. But Xbox, like, they're not going to get any more users no matter what they do. Like, even if they sold each Xbox console at $100, $200 loss, it wouldn't necessarily lead to more users. So they have to sell them at least for some profit to even have a prayer of having a viable business. So it's all tariffs, man. It's all tariffs. Pandaman77 says, hello, Jez. Really does seem like Xbox should have stuck with the current strategy a little longer. PC manufacturers are cancelling GPUs now and reverting back to 8GB. Do you think there's any chance they further delay the PC Xbox and push the current series a couple of more years? Maybe they could actually try for a chance. I think you mean for a change, right? Series S, while shit on, was actually the best play. Next gen is going to look very similar to this gen, so what's the point even releasing it yet? It is interesting. It's hard to say what's going to happen with all this RAM stuff. You know, will there be like boosted capacity? You know, I think in the near term, yes, it probably isn't smart. But the thing you have to think about with regards to this, Panda Man, is that eventually the parts for the Xbox Series X and S, they're going to be harder to get because companies ain't going to want to manufacture them. And this is something I've heard about the optical drives. So today, the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X have optical drives. But the companies that are manufacturing optical drives, they don't want to be manufacturing optical drives anymore. The only devices on Earth that still use optical drives at scale are Xbox and PlayStation consoles. Everyone else has either switched to digital or solid state, you know, or digital downloads. So there's gonna come a point where like they can't get some of the parts for the current systems. So they always have to be thinking about like what comes next, and what comes next has to be in line with the components that are available, you know. So, you know, the next Xbox is not going to have a disk drive, almost certainly. You know, it's almost certainly not going to have a disk drive. And because of this kind of thing, so there are other parts of the console which might not even exist, like the CF Express port. You know, who knows what else. So I do think like they have to push ahead and just accept the realities of how much stuff costs at the time. But this is why Microsoft has started putting their games everywhere else, because they, you know, they know that even if like their hardware becomes this boutique kind of niche next gen, at least they'll still be able to sell the games everywhere. So I do think the Series X and S will last longer than maybe people think they will. They'll last longer into the gen. Like I was told they're looking at around 5 years. But that was before all this RAM shit happened. But maybe they knew the RAM stuff was coming. And maybe that's, you know, it was in view of that. They said 5 years. But there is going to be like a significant overlap. But, you know, we'll see what happens. But everything's an Xbox now, man. Everything's an Xbox, right? That's what they say. Web Dave with the 2 says, Jez, start a GoFundMe to pay for the June trip to LA. Oh, man. I mean, see, like when I was first starting out, I actually did run a Kickstarter to send myself to Gamescom. And there was a popular sort of, at the time anyway, I think he had like 2,000 followers or something. He had more followers than me. Like I had like 1,000, and he attacked me for like asking Twitter to pay for me to go to Gamescom, and I felt really guilty about it. I felt really guilty asking people for money to go to this show. So I cancelled the Kickstarter. Even though like I raised the funds, I cancelled the Kickstarter, and I couldn't afford a hotel at that point, and I slept on an airport bench to cover Gamescom that year. You know. So now I've got like a complex. I don't want to ask people for money to pay for this kind of stuff. Like, honestly, my company should pay for it because it's literally my job to do this. It's what they've hired me for. So I wouldn't want to pay for it myself, or I wouldn't want you guys to pay for it. But I don't know. I might just soak the cost and do it myself because I do want to be out there. But you know, maybe it won't even be safe to be out there by then. Maybe we'll be at war over Greenland or something. God, that's depressing. But yeah, I do think the Series X and S will last longer into the gen than people think. Joaquin with the 199 says, Jez, are you optimistic for Blizzard's future? I am pretty optimistic, yeah. I think Blizzard's like, they've got the same kind of headwinds that other game companies have right now, but it does feel like Blizzard has their audience, and their audience always shows up, you know. So, and I think Blizzard has been, I think there are aspects of Blizzard stuff that there are aspects of Blizzard stuff right now that I'm not a huge fan of. Like, I think the writing quality across all of their games has degraded. Like, I don't think World of Warcraft has good writing anymore. I don't think Overwatch has good writing. Or it just doesn't have writing at all. Diablo has pretty good writing, but not a particularly good endgame. But the games are all ticking over, and I would hope that, you know, eventually they fix those issues that are sort of maybe not optimal right now. Like, Overwatch is in probably a better place than it has been in a really long time. Like, at least, like, since near to launch, I would say. Like, the positive sentiment about Overwatch within the community seems pretty strong. Like, stronger than I've seen it for a while. So, clearly, Blizzard has the capacity to turn things around, even without some of those old school voices, you know, like Kaplan and stuff like that. Akasin Arcade in chat says, Blizzard needs a big breath of fresh air, to be honest. I do think, like, I speculated that we'll see the StarCraft shooter at this year's BlizzCon. And, you know, that wasn't, some people reported that I leaked that, but that wasn't a leak, that was just my speculation. And the reason it was my speculation was because in the marketing materials for BlizzCon, they showed StarCraft a lot. You know, and I kind of feel like you shouldn't be teasing StarCraft if you aren't going to show it, right? So I do think making, like, if the StarCraft game is a sort of like story kind of StarCraft game shooter, that could be the breath of fresh air you're talking about. MPEG Yakuza says StarCraft shooter. Yes, there is a StarCraft shooter in development. It's a third-person shooter where you play as far as I know, you play as, you know, a space marine fighting the Zerg. You know, in the vein of, you know, Warhammer 40k space marine. But obviously, you're a Terran marine, not a Warhammer 40k space marine. But yeah, I think it's a squad shooter, something like that. But we'll see, man. Akasan says, complaining about Blizzard while trying to log into Star Citizen, my hypocrisy. Yeah, you know, we're all hypocrites sometimes for the games we love, right? I bitch about Warcraft all the time, but I still log on and play it. Yeah, thanks Pandaman for the question, dude. I do think the Series S is underrated, man. I do think the Series S has been heavily underrated, and I do think it was clearly a very forward-facing plan to have something that would target the lower end. I think Microsoft knew they were eventually going to make a handheld. So having developers make low power versions of their games was obviously a smart play, I think. I think maybe they should have just communicated some of that stuff better. But clearly, like, there's so many developers who've said, like, you know, they talk about how great the Steam Deck is while shitting on the Series S, even though the Series S is, like, more powerful and stuff. So, hey, maybe it's the Microsoft tax again. I don't know. Joaquin with the $4.99 says, how long can Rare and ZOS maintain without anything new on the horizon? ZeniMax Online. Is Sea of Thieves and Elder Scrolls Online doing well enough to float the studio? I think Elder Scrolls Online is doing well enough, but I do think Rare needs something. They probably do need something new. I don't know what that is. Maybe it's Sea of Thieves 2. Making Sea of Thieves free to play. I don't know what the play is there, but I don't have good sources at Rare. So I don't know what they're up to at the moment, but I think I'd be more worried about Rare than ZeniMax Online Studios, but I don't know. Solid Theater says Viva Pinata. Yeah, man, get a new Viva Pinata on the go. And we've got Paris Lily in the chat. Jez solo again. I am indeed solo. We're here for Rand. We're supporting Rand's channel while he's out. Hopefully Rand will be back next week, but we'll see. Sea of Thieves is on PS5, but I think they've probably already gone through all they can do with Rare on PS5. I think Sea of Thieves probably needs a sequel that's a bit more ambitious and has a better engine. I do think there's a finite amount of stuff they can do with Sea of Thieves potentially with the platform they've made now. I think Sea of Thieves could do with being more maybe survival game oriented, you know, rather than like what it is now, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. Next up, we've got Nitram. Hi Jez, when Lords of the Fallen released in 2023, many commentators felt it was too similar gameplay design and art style to Dark Souls, to the point that it felt like plagiarism. Is the same true for Hytale? Are they taking too much inspiration from Minecraft? That's a good question. At the end of the day, I'll be honest, I'm kind of rooting for Hytale because I think that Mojang has really rested on its laurels with Minecraft. There's like so much more they could do with Minecraft to make its core systems and core vanilla gameplay without mods feel better. I have no idea why Minecraft has such a slow pace of updates and development. You know, I have no idea. And I don't know if you guys know this, but like Hytale evolved out of the Minecraft mod Hypixel, or the modded server Hypixel, right? I think. So like, while I do think the inspirations are pretty clear, I also think Minecraft's just resting on its laurels, and they could have done a lot of the shit that Hytale wants to do. You know, so I think competition is good, and I don't think it's, you know, if you actually like, I mean, the inspiration is pretty clear, but it's hardly as if you know, Minecraft has a monopoly on that kind of style. Like Minecraft, like out from the outset, was kind of inspired by the blocky retro graphics of like the PlayStation 1 era. So it's hardly as if Minecraft itself has a monopoly on that kind of visual style. But I honestly just want to see Minecraft have some competition and see if it forces Minecraft to innovate. You know, because I think the reason Hytale's getting so much hype right now is because it's doing things that people have been asking Minecraft to do, which is take some of its core systems a little bit more seriously, you know, evolve them a bit, make them more, give them more depth. I don't know. But we'll see. Yeah, I don't know. It is interesting. I don't know if people in chat feel differently about that. But it is like, sometimes it can be sort of a little on the nose when something's like a rip-off kind of thing. There was that whole debate with that Tencent game, which looked a lot like Horizon Zero Dawn, right? At least, like, you know, on the face of it. I think it's a bit different when it's like a big company doing it, and they're basically stealing something with the view of like, oh, we're gonna make a profit on it. But like, Hytale is born from Minecraft modders are making it. Now it's an indie game, so I'm kind of rooting for it. I don't know. Maybe that's hypocritical, kind of, but I do think Minecraft needs some competition, man. I definitely think it needs competition. Akasen Arcade says, the Xbox game I'm most salty about is Phantom Dust reboot. I know Jez wanted it to, so much wasted potential. I agree, man. I think Phantom Dust had so much, it did have wasted potential. But there's so many projects that get cancelled. Like, I really wanted to see Perfect Dark actualized, and, you know, Perfect Dark got cancelled. At the end of the day, there's a finite amount of money, and Amy Hood is demanding profitability because they've got to, they feel they've got to grow out this AI infrastructure, which is monstrously expensive, you know, and because of that, Xbox is kind of suffering, you know, and it's the worst possible time because gaming is having this weird downturn right now, where Minecraft, where games like Fortnite and Roblox are vacuuming up so much of the playtime hours, and also stealing a lot of the younger audience. So as like more and more of us age out of gaming, not me, but like some people are aging out of gaming. They hit 40, 50, they get kids, and they don't have as much time to game. Like, their kids are supposed to age into gaming, but they're aging into Roblox, which doesn't monetize that well on Xbox or PlayStation, you know, for Sony or Microsoft. But I don't know. I don't know, man. Next up, we've got, oh my god, Turtle73. Hey, Jez. Hope you're having a fantastic stream and a lovely evening. With the Developer Direct starting off the year, I thought I'd ask, is there any other showcase events Xbox should add to their calendar? You already have events like the Summer Showcase, a Japan-focused one, an indie-focused, third-party focused, probably others I'm forgetting. What other showcase would you like to see added to the yearly calendar? An Activision-focused one, maybe? Maybe an Eastern European one, or even a PC-focused one? Enjoy the rest of your stream, and don't make those White Russians too milky. Yeah, man. I would honestly like to see from Microsoft a platform-focused one. I wish they would invest more in platform and be like, okay, this is what we're doing with platform this year. These are all the updates you can expect from platform. We're updating the achievement system, or here are the things coming to the Xbox Ally, and here are the improvements coming to that, and here are the improvements coming to this. Because I think they've got a lot, they have put a lot of focus on the gaming, and the focus probably should be on the gaming. But it would be nice to hear from the platform team sometime, like Jason Ronald, talking about tech, you know, DirectX, what advancements are they doing with AMD, you know, what they're going to do with the MPU on the Xbox Ally X, you know, what kind of research is being done on neural rendering and the tech and things like that. So I would honestly like to see a tech-focused showcase, but maybe I'm in the minority there, I don't know. Next up, we've got Shay Elephant. My thoughts are with Rand and family. Hi, Jez. I'm playing Hi-Fi Rush at the moment, and it gets me thinking about Tango Saga. Obviously, a lot has been said about it, but one thing that wasn't really talked about was the leaving of Shinji Mikami. Do you think if he hadn't left Tango, Xbox wouldn't have shut it down? Definitely yes. Also, do you think we ever see Evil Within 3 and Ghostwire Tokyo 2? Especially Tango said was to be working on Ghostwire 2 before it was shut down. Xbox still own both IPs. Thanks. So, I was pretty much told that Shinji Mikami leaving is the reason why Tango ended up being sold off. I was told that Microsoft wanted Shinji Mikami to lead development on Evil Within 3, and Shinji didn't want to, which is weird because he said that he wanted to, I think, in an interview or on Twitter. So maybe what it was more like they couldn't agree to terms on a deal for the Evil Within 3, or he felt like he couldn't make it under Microsoft structure or something like that. I don't know. But I do know that like things like the time zone disparity, the language barriers that Tango had, and without Shinji Mikami, they felt like there was no one really with the proper business acumen or the contacts or the sort of the authority within that community of developers, like the Japanese community. They felt like there was a delta in expertise there from what I've heard. So, and also Shinji Mikami also took a lot of the senior developers with him. So I did hear that Shinji Mikami leaving was a big catalyst for what happened to Tango. But like I say, that's one side of the story. I'm sure Shinji's got a completely different side of the story. But at the end of the day, I would have loved to have seen an Evil Within 3. And I do think Ghostwire also had a lot of potential. I didn't enjoy Ghostwire Tokyo 1 very much, especially at launch. I thought it was really bad at launch. And the engine is still to this day pretty bad. I don't know how the game has just such awful performance, and that really does feel like a lack of technical expertise potentially, which is what happened there to some degree. But like Evil Within 1 is absolutely amazing. It's one of my favorite horror games ever, and it's a shame that we'll probably never get Evil Within 3. To be honest, I don't think we'll get one, but I don't know. We'll see, man. Who knows what the future holds? William Riggs says, "Hi Jez, my question to you is why is Xbox considered the whipping boy of the gaming industry? No matter what the other companies do, it's always Xbox's fault. Have a great weekend. Sending my thoughts and love to Randy's family." Thanks for that, dude. Yeah, we talked about the Xbox tax a little bit earlier. I do think some of it is skepticism around Microsoft in general. I do think Xbox has to work harder than other companies to achieve the same amount of recognition. Like, Xbox released more games than Nintendo and PlayStation last year, and nobody cares. It's not really recognized, you know. Microsoft even has more exclusives. Like, Xbox is, like, we all know that Xbox has done away with exclusives, but Xbox actually had a decent amount of Xbox exclusives last year, compared to the others, which is really interesting because we don't really think of Xbox as being the exclusive machine anymore. And yeah, like, your mileage may vary on the quality of some of these games. Like, I didn't really enjoy Avowed, and you know, I'm not I think it's cool that games like you know, I think it's cool like games like Keeper exist, but again, it's not my cup of tea. You know, I have a finite amount of time to play a game. I want to play something more interactive than Keeper. But at the same time, it's like they're delivering. Like, we asked them to deliver more games, and they started delivering more games. So I do think Microsoft is Xbox, should we say, and Microsoft Gaming. I do think Microsoft Gaming is unfairly scrutinized sometimes, even by, you know, its own fans. Like, I've been pretty critical of Xbox, but I think one of the issues is that Xbox as a company all up has misaligned priorities. Like, Amy and Satya do not care about Xbox at all, or gaming. They were convinced to buy Activision Blizzard during a very exceptional circumstances. Like, it was the pandemic, you know, and they were like, this is kind of like the opportunity to really corner the market. And also Activision's share price was slipping. It was kind of like, if we're going to be serious about this, this is the one chance we've got to really create a platform that becomes ubiquitous, you know. And now after the pandemic, we're seeing this sort of ongoing disruption, you know. So Xbox has to pay for that now, pay for that disruption. I do think there's going to be a downturn. And I think Xbox will have to make more unpopular, potentially more unpopular decisions. I don't think we've seen the last of studio closures, for example. You know, and I think Amy Hood is eventually going to be like, you know, this studio still hasn't put out a game, and you know, and we'll see more situations like the Initiative. But, you know, it's not in a vacuum. You know, other companies are having issues too. Like Nintendo share price is down 30% in 6 months. Ubisoft share price is non-existent. You know, so it's definitely not on Microsoft struggling here, but I don't know, man. It's tough. Next up, we've got Drakari. Hi, Jez. Appreciate you keeping the show going while Rand is out. For something a bit different, what is the coolest Xbox swag you've ever received or maybe even purchased? That's an easy one to answer. The coolest Xbox swag I own and I purchased this myself off eBay. It's a it's an Xbox Live neon sign OG, and it was given to press when the original Xbox launched. And it also came with a DVD where Bill Gates is talking about the vision for Xbox. It's really interesting. So that's probably the coolest bit of swag I own. However, the sign won't turn on anymore. So I don't know if the neon gas leaked out of it or something, or something's broken in it. I want to try and get it fixed. But that's the coolest bit of Xbox swag I own, probably by far. I own a bunch of gaming swag, but, you know, my Lilith statue, for example, but I think the Xbox neon sign beats all of it, man. It's currently hanging up above my computer in the UK, but it's broken, so I need to try and figure out how to fix it, man. What we got next? We've got Patch Rock. Do you think the Magnus Xbox could come with an integrated camera that is easily coverable for future-proofing the system for next Playground-type games, as well as give vindication and truthful backwards compatibility to the Xbox Kinect Line games? Imagine Xbox published and owned hundreds of Kinect games that are inaccessible to people. For a company that says they care about game preservation, that seems like a spit in the face. Just having access to existing library seems like an easy win. I don't think a camera being integrated into the system is a good idea, because you want to be able to turn the camera, right? But I do think, like, it is interesting that the fact that the next Playground was so popular this year. I think what the play would be is like a sort of accessory that's like the next Playground that can run Kinect games, but all in one, like, camera device. They've probably got the tech to miniaturize that now, I would say. And like you said, there's already like a ton of existing Kinect games which they could put through that system. But I just don't see it happening. I don't think they'll do it. I think it's kind of one of the things that I think is irritating about the modern Xbox is that they are less willing than they have been in the past to take weird hardware risks. And this is not just an issue for Xbox, but Microsoft all up, man. Like, I remember when the Surface Book came out. If you guys remember the Surface Book, it had that weird fulcrum hinge, rather than a regular hinge, and you could detach the display and flip it around and do all sorts of weird shit with it. Like, it was over-engineered, you know. But to this day, the Surface Book is the coolest laptop I've ever owned, you know. And yeah, it had loads of problems. It was really expensive. the fact that the CPU was in display made it really, really hot. It ran really hot to the point where it would throttle to the point of being unusable in the summer. So technologically, it had huge issues. But things like Kinect and HoloLens and all that like weird, quirky stuff they used to do, that was exciting, you know. And I do think there's a universe where something like a Kinect could attract that younger audience and pull them away from things like Roblox, which is increasingly under scrutiny for abuse, you know. One of the things that Roblox has done recently is they've removed the chat systems for anyone under a certain age. I think it's 16 or something like that. So, you know, maybe there is an opportunity where Roblox becomes less attractive to younger audiences, and in that universe, maybe something like a Kinect would have an opportunity, but I don't know. I don't think today's Microsoft has the guts to really do anything like that anymore. It feels like they're too afraid. They're too afraid to do anything out of left field or try anything really new. I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know. But anyways, next question is from Nitram. Hi Jez, after CD Projekt Red stated they were moving away from Red Engine to Unreal Engine, seems they've been working closely with Epic on mitigating traversal stutter, garbage collection stutters for open world based games. Do you think The Witcher 4 will be stutter free? Do you think the move to Unreal was a mistake? I mean, it's a good question, man. We can only speculate, right? I have absolutely no evidence to suggest that Unreal Engine will suddenly be stutter free. And especially like with the next Xbox moving to like a more PC architecture. It's honestly just hard to say. I do think obviously that CD Projekt Red has a high standard for itself when it comes to the kind of worlds they want to deliver. Like, their ambition for Cyberpunk, for example, got the better of them. You know, the fact that, like, in Cyberpunk, even when you're inside an interior, you can still look outside a window in a lot of areas and still see this, like, continuous world, you know? And all that complexity in Cyberpunk led to the issues we saw with the game at launch. But at the same time, it's what makes Cyberpunk such a landmark title. So the fact that like they've got a benchmark for themselves, and the benchmark is Witcher 3. So I would expect that CD Projekt Red would want the experience to be at least 1-to-1 with The Witcher 3 in terms of like traversal and stutter and performance and things like that. But even The Witcher 3 had some performance issues at launch. But, you know, hopefully they can work around it, you know. I think we'd need to speak to someone from CD Projekt Red to get the rundown on that. But I've asked Unreal twice. I've asked Unreal Engine to comment on perceptions about its engine performance, and both times they've declined to comment. I asked them to talk about Lumen being broken on Z2 Extreme, for example, and they wouldn't comment, man. But I would really hope that CD Projekt can nail some of that stuff. Next up, we've got Chris Panisse. He says, Chris Panisse says, "Hey Jez, love going out to Rand and fam during this tough time. Could you do me a favor and go on another anti-AI LLM rant? I really do enjoy it. Gives me hope the bubble will pop and get a reset on things, or aliens could just come out of hiding and say hi. Love you, Jez. Keep up the good work." It's It's kind of annoying with the AI stuff, right? Because AI is definitely here to stay, and LLM technology is really annoying, and it's having all these social issues. Like we talked earlier about how Brad Smith put out this big article talking about how Microsoft's gonna be a community first AI data center infrastructure provider, you know, and they're gonna pay more taxes and they're gonna support local charities, things like that. And we had Nvidia last week talking about how AI doomerism is hurting investment in AI. So I do think these companies have become increasingly cognizant of the fact that everyone hates this shit. You know, everyone really, really hates this shit. And this actually dovetails into Chris M's question up next. But I don't think AI hate's going to slow down. You know, we had all this stuff with the Grok deepfakes, right? It's just such a weird time. What we're experiencing now with AI is probably what people felt like when the electricity infrastructure was going out. When they first they were putting up wires everywhere and building power stations and stuff like that, and the lights were going up. This is probably how people felt back then, you know, or when the automobile got popular. This is we've lived in a universe where things have been, at least for our generation, relatively stable and static, I suppose. Like the internet rollout was sort of quite gradual, I think. You know, and obviously like the early internet was pretty terrible. But this AI stuff just feels so rapid, and the way it's changing everything so quickly. So maybe it is a little bit more like electricity. I don't know. But it's only going to get weirder and more confusing. I mean, we haven't even seen the robots yet. I mean, that's the next big one. Is like seeing robots commonly in public is probably the next weird sci-fi shit that's going to happen. Or maybe we just see aliens. I don't know. Next question is from Chris M, and this is similar to the above question. Hi, Jez. Hope the solo show's going well. Thank you, buddy. Given a lot of the news around AI this week, from the Nvidia CEO saying the backlash will cause real harm to the business, to Tim Sweeney being completely tone deaf to the issues around Grok, to the other side with former industry shows and developers banning Gen AI, and now the US and other countries are pushing to remove X and Apple from Google stores over what Grok is being used for, are we seeing a tidal shift in the overall views of AI? And even if that were the case, could it make an impact on the financials of AI going forward? Or were these companies too incestuous in how they transfer money amongst each other to really care what the markets think? I mean, I'm interested what chat thinks about this. Like, it does seem like there is a pretty general negative sentiment about the way AI is being handled, especially on social media. But social media is often not in line with reality. Reality is often reality is different about how it's sort of reality is a little bit different, isn't it? So when it comes to the way people are perceiving AI today, and the way, I suppose, companies are treating AI, I think there's still optimism within Microsoft and also investment communities about building out AI, because Satya said in an interview that they've got GPUs sitting on the shelf they can't use because there physically isn't enough electricity. So I think some of the potential benefits of AI, which could be things like finding cures for incurable diseases like cancer and stuff like that, maybe that, I'm being very generous by the way now, maybe some of those genuine benefits aren't being realized because the infrastructure isn't physically there. So I suppose one of the issues will be is, can we get to that point more quickly than investors get bored, or regulators get tired of things like Grok? And Maybe even like, do we experience some kind of catastrophic world war, which sort of makes investment in the infrastructure necessary to realize some of those lofty benefits unlikely, or set it back like a decade or 2 decades even. So if you look at the stock market right now, Microsoft stocks are down, but that's not the general trend. Like, the general trend is like AI stocks are still going up. Google is still up really high because, you know, Google's leapfrogged OpenAI now. But OpenAI just announced ads are coming, which investors are probably going to like. And it's probably going to help OpenAI. It's probably going to help OpenAI reach towards profitability, well, more quickly. You know, instead of like 20 years, maybe 10 years, they'll find profitability. But I don't think we're seeing a total shift. I think we've seen more people become aware of the issues. And I think companies have started to become aware of the fact that people are becoming aware of the fact there's issues. But I don't think we're going to see a really big impact on financials. Like, Microsoft is still selling Copilot to governments and nation states and Fortune 500 companies. And that's really where the money is. I think Microsoft is like one of the only companies really that's monetizing AI particularly well. And that's because of its ability to make companies trust in their stuff. Like, Microsoft's legal compliance and regulatory compliance, and also like being able to adapt their programs like Azure Active Directory to a company's policies is second to none. Like, Microsoft is really good at that corporate shit. So I don't think we're going to see a big impact on financials of AI, but I do think there's still a huge amount of issues to navigate, I guess. You know. I look cards in says, it's the inertia in the integration process to take full advantage of AI capabilities. Laushim Zaki says Palantir is really scary. I hope their tech gets banned. Yeah, Palantir is really scary. That the CEO of Palantir is fucking unhinged, man. He said something yesterday which was like, Palantir might help you and it also might kill you, or something like that. It's like, this guy's like a cartoon supervillain. Like, how are these people so sociopathic? It's fucking weird, man. But it's whatever. We'll see what happens. But it's here to stay, man. It's not going away. It's not going away. It's gonna get weirder, man. It's probably gonna get weirder. Some of the truly weird things that AI could be capable of is only not being realized right now because of the electricity bottleneck. Once they solve some of those bottlenecks, and they will, either with nuclear power or something else, things will get even weirder, I think. Even weirder, bro. Anyways, next up we've got Silas. Hello, mate. If you had to spend the rest of your life sustaining yourself on either British food or German food, what would you pick and why? I would pick British food purely because it's got baked beans in it. You can buy baked beans in Germany, but they're very, very expensive. Far more expensive than Britain. So I don't consider them to be a German food. So I don't think I could function knowing I never have a baked bean again. Germany has very, very good food. But British food is better. Sorry. It's just a fact. Just a fact. Anyways, those are all the Patreon Q&As. And I think we're going to end the show there this week. It's been a slow news week. Hopefully Rand will be back next week with us. And it's been, you know, it's been a weird time. It's still a weird time in tech. It's a weird time in gaming. It's a weird time in the media. You know, if you guys have any more questions, drop them in the chat and we'll wrap up there. But Stefan Stefan says AI will be here to stay, but not necessarily for us normal people. Yeah, I mean, I use AI at work sometimes. Like one of the things I really like using AI for is uh I'll have a spec table or something of headphones, like listing, like I'm reviewing headphones, right? And it's got like the frequency response and the features and the battery life. And I'll go to AI and say, convert this table of specs to HTML because our content management system wants the table in HTML, and it'll do it for me. Like instead of having to like manually draw the table or write the HTML, like the table tags and the TD tags and all that. Not that I would ever do that, but it is faster. It saves me a couple of minutes a week. Would I pay for that? Probably not. But it's also good for like, it's also good for just having like, I use it mostly like a search engine. Like, when did this game launch? Without having to load up Google or Bing fully. But, we already had a search engine, I'm sure people are using it in more interesting ways than I am, but, I spoke to a company the other day that talked about how they've got like a Azure agent, which will look up all the Excel spreadsheets they've had from app job applications and rank them and stuff. But I'm sitting there thinking, like, I wouldn't want an AI to rank the job applications. I'd want to do it myself and make sure I'm not missing something that the AI missing. But the guy was like, yeah, but we get like 500 applications, not dozens of applications, like hundreds of applications. This is a way to like quickly whittle it down instead of just throwing half the applications in the bin. So I was like, I kind of get that, I think the enterprise applications are probably more sensical than like the consumery kind of ones. Like, do we need Copilot in Notepad, or do we need Copilot in Microsoft Paint? Like, all that stuff just feels like they're throwing things at the wall and hoping something sticks. But the issue for me with AI is just how expensive it is versus the value you get out of it. It shouldn't. It just feels like completely inefficient right now. It's like taking a sledgehammer to position a nail, to put up a poster or something. In a lot of regards, at least. But if it can truly do things like, come up with new cures and stuff, or program robots, then fantastic, but we'll see. So, yeah, I think that's going to be the show this week. When is the Developer Direct? Dev Direct Xbox 2026. Developer Direct is... Do we even have a date for it? Is there even a date for it? January 22nd. So we get Dev Direct on 22nd, and then right after that is the next podcast. So hopefully Rand will be back for that. But if he's not, then we'll do a solo show and we'll go through the Dev Direct together. But in any case, I'm Jez from Windows Central and Xbox 2 podcast. Thanks to all you guys for watching. This show is sponsored by Surfshark VPN. So if you want to get 80% off a 2-year plan for Surfshark VPN, check out the link in the description. It's a really great VPN. It's got a lot of great security features, and I can't recommend it enough. I use it myself. And also, if you check out Surfshark, it supports the show and also yourself, because you get a really great deal. Also, check out Patreon. If you're a new member, it's 50% off for the rest of the month. You get ad-free, you get extra shows, you get Q&As and that kind of thing. So yeah, definitely check that out. If you're listening on Spotify or YouTube or anything, wherever you are, we love you guys. Thank you so much for all your support. Send Rand your love if you do get the time. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Bye.